Hey everybody, I'm Johnny Roberts. We want to welcome you into our new Roku TV program called Lights Out. And each week we're going to take a look at the major stories in motorsports, and we're also going to have some great interviews with some real cool people. A couple of big stories this week, of course, are Tony Stewart and Gene Haas shutting down their Cup Series teams at the end of this year, and also Kyle Larson doing the double. I think right away people were way too quick to blame Tony Stewart for the demise of Stewart-Haas Racing. Yeah, he wasn't around there all the time, but I don't think a race team depends that much on an owner being around all the time. Did it have a little bit of a factor? Maybe, but Tony didn't set up the cars. Tony didn't drive the cars. Tony didn't go out there personally and sell the sponsorship. He was one of the owners of this organization, and to try to pin a huge thing like the shutting down of a race team on one guy is not right and not fair. You hate to see it happen. I feel very badly for the 300-some people that are going to lose their jobs over this, but it's also very unfair and incorrect to throw it all on the shoulders of one guy, Tony Stewart, for not being around all the time. If it weren't for Tony Stewart, that team wouldn't ever have been what it was in the first place. Also, another statement I want to take issue with is when we hear people on social media saying NASCAR ruined the Coke 600 because they let Kyle Larson run in the Indy 500. Guys, there was so much more to it than that. This is not the witness protection program. You are out there to get noticed in the world of motorsports and to sell tickets. I think a lot more tickets were bought for the Indy 500 because of Kyle Larson's presence. A lot more tickets were probably bought for the Coke 600 because of Larson's double duty. No one has control over the rain, and I think if any of us were in the position to say, hey, is this a good idea for Kyle Larson to do the double duty? Yes, it was. It brought all kinds of attention to both disciplines of motorsports, and honestly, to say anything was ruined, the only thing that happened was the weather didn't cooperate. Those are the top stories of the week, and that's my take. It's Lights Out with Johnny Roberts, and we want to welcome in one of the best in the business, Lee Diffie. Diffie, so glad to talk to you, man. You guys just called an incredible Indy 500.
John, thank you, mate. It's lovely to be on with you, and congrats on the show. Wow, what an Indy 500, huh? I full disclosure, total honesty, I don't think I'm recovered from it yet several days later. And I've spoken to some of my teammates and they feel the same. It took a lot out of all of us because it was such a big deal. Like it was, obviously the rain delay, but then the heightened emotion and excitement and just everything that went down in the race. At one point in the day, we weren't sure if we were going to get that race in, and I'm sure glad, even though it took a bit longer, I'm sure glad that we did.
So, Diff, when you look at the state of motorsports right now, the finishes we're getting in NASCAR, the competition in IndyCar, and the pageantry of F1, globally, it seems like motorsports have never been better.
I think it's on a real upward trajectory, and then throw into that, IMSA WeatherTech sports cars here in the US, every round thus far this year, especially in the two pro categories in GTP and in GTD Pro, they've had a different winner in each race. So it's been amazing. And the ratings tell us that people are loving motorsport at the moment, with great NASCAR numbers, great IndyCar numbers from the Indy 500 especially. IMSA's been doing well. Formula One, especially from the Miami Grand Prix, had phenomenal numbers. So that makes, for guys like you and me, where motorsport's been our life and livelihood, that means a lot. It means a lot personally and professionally that the viewers and the fans are engaged, they're watching it, and they're loving what they see.
So it has to be a good 24 years ago. I look at the schedule at Speed Channel. It says, hey, you're doing Speed Report with Lee Diffie. And I said, man, I know that guy. He's pretty cool. Yeah, can't wait to meet him. Can't wait to work with him. Diff, we had such a good time doing those programs. We didn't care who did what. It was all for one. It was teamwork. It was just a great time back then.
Well, first of all, Johnny, we're not that old. It wasn't that long ago. Definitely was not 24 years ago.
You don't think it was 24?
But I remember
02, 03?
No.
Maybe? Well, that's more like 20. Excuse my
20,
math.
yeah, maybe, yes, 20 years ago, for sure. But I can remember the raw excitement of doing that show because I was next to John Roberts, a big NASCAR guy, So I was excited just to be in there. And then, do you remember when it went from Speed? What it was the Speed
Speed
Report, then it
Report,
went to Speed News.
Speed
Speed
News.
Report, then it went to Speed News, and then when
Yeah.
Speed News was on Talladega Nights, I was so excited to see the studio that you and I worked in on a Hollywood movie.
Yeah, nothing quite like that. All right, Jeff. So, rumor has it that you might be joining us in the NASCAR world. I hope that's the case, but don't know what you can tell us.
Well, I saw those same rumors that you saw. Nothing official's been said by NBC, so rumors are rumors, I guess, Johnny. That's about that's about what I can say.
We understand that. Lee, so great to talk to you, man. I miss being in the same city with you, but we still get to talk a lot, man. And keep up the good work. Just really, really enjoyed the calls you've been doing, and you got a lot coming up, Olympics and other sports as well.
Yeah, for sure. It's going to be a really busy summer. For as much motorsports as NBC has, of course, every second year, whether it be winter or summer, the Olympic Games are so important to us. And I'm really fortunate where the network lets me do both. In the Winter Games, I do the bobsled, skeleton, and luge. So it's speed and it's racing, which I really love. And then in the Summer Games, I get to do track and field, which is just awesome. And believe it or not, there's actually a lot of synergy and there's a lot of crossover between track and field and motorsport. And I love calling the races, whether it be from 100 meters up to the marathon. You get to, whether it be like calling a 400-mile NASCAR race or the Indy 500 or whatever it might be, when you're calling a marathon or 1,500 meters or whatever it might be, you get to tell those longer stories and you see the race evolve in front of you, and you get to do a bit of a deeper dive on the athletes. And I love it. I love my summer sport, so to speak, in track and field. And we're off to Paris this summer, and it's going to be huge because the last handful of Olympics have been pretty challenging. From my first one, which was in Sochi in Russia, there was a lot of controversy about that. And then immediately after that, the tanks rolled into Crimea. We went to Rio. There was the Zika virus and lots of controversy about that, and athletes not going, golfers not going. Then we went to Pyeongchang, and there was the perceived threat from North Korea, and people were worried about that. And then, of course, the global pandemic hit in Beijing, and the majority of us were about 20 minutes from I'm talking to you now in Stamford, Connecticut. The majority of those games were called from NBC Sports headquarters. So Mike Tirico went over there and some reporters. But Paris is going to feel great being on the ground and actually having people there in a packed stadium, because in Tokyo, which was a year late, it wasn't in 2020, it was 2021. Myself and Addo Bolden and Sonia Richards-Ross and all of our track and field team, there we were sitting in a 70,000 seat stadium calling some awesome accomplishments and gold medals, and nobody was in there, Johnny. That was the most bizarre feeling, in addition to calling the Indy 500 with nobody in the stands, at the Brickyard. That was crazy.
So, Lee, I think one thing we've learned over the years is you can't fake enthusiasm. You can't fake passion. When we see you call these games and these races, we know what it's all about, man. Keep up the good work, brother. And thank you so much for joining the program here.
Thanks, Johnny. Congrats, and keep it going, mate. It's lovely to be, in air quotes, on the air again with you.
Yes. All right, welcome back to the show, everybody. It's Lights Out with Johnny Robertson. We got Chris Blair from Worldwide Technology Raceway with us. Chris, first of all, you guys have had two fantastic races at your facility. How excited are you for round 3?
I'm really excited this time because the last couple of races when we came in, the drivers were somewhat subdued. No one was really punching one another or doing anything crazy leading into it. And that are pretty amped up. And, the way our racetrack races, there might be some wild stuff taking place when it's all said and done, when it's over. So, they're back in 2022, with Chastain, with Ross and everything that was going on. That was like the first race where Ross really upset some people. So, who knows what might happen. There we go.
So, Chris, you guys are one of the best stories, I think, in racing in quite some time. It's not an easy thing to do. to get on the Cup schedule. It's not an easy thing to do to make a racetrack and a race work as well as you guys did. What all had to come together to bring a race to St. Louis?
Here's the one thing we always like to point out is that we never really went out there and begged for a race. Curtis is a big proponent of actions speaking louder than words, Curtis Francois, the track owner. So we pulled off a very successful NHRA race when I first got here in 2020 or 2012. Then that caught the attention of NASCAR with the Truck Series. Jim Cassidy at the time really liked the racetrack, wanted to do something with us. So we ended up having the NASCAR Truck Series, had some tremendous success there. That got the attention of IndyCar, where we had some spectacular Bommarito Automotive Group 500s. And just through that process, I think everybody started to see that we let our actions speak louder than words. We delivered, and people recognize that this is a great sports town, that this is a good venue now that with all the investments that Curtis has made, and all those obstacles that previously held this facility back, primarily parking, because at the time, when I first got here, this place was 150 acres. We're nearly 1,000 acres now. And that first move when we expanded the parking lot and added 200 acres of parking prior to the 2017 season, that was the game changer. So all those improvements and everything that was just kind of happening and the way this track is so unique and the shape of the racetrack, that just led to the opportunity for us to have the opportunity to host NASCAR. And Steve Phelps and Ben Kennedy, Ben was here a lot in his role as the series director for the Truck Series. He raced here. He recognized what we were doing. And along the way, we never dreamed that we would have a NASCAR Cup race one day. We were just trying to go ahead and just deliver the best product that we could with what we had at the time. And they recognized the hard work and the effort and the community support. And that's what made it all happen. And we're just proud to be a part of it.
Chris, I had a great boss once tell me you can put Tide on the side of a race car. If it doesn't wash clothes, no one's going to buy it. You guys put out that first race. It was sold out. But everybody came back. Is that one of the biggest compliments you can get? If you do it once, yeah. But if you do it twice as a race promoter, when people come back, that's got to be a huge compliment.
Well, it was. And really, when we took a look at the first year, we're big on post-event surveys. So immediately after the race, any fan that we have their information, we send them a post-event report. And then we sit down and we pull all of it apart. And we filter through and say, okay, what are the items that we can fix right away? What are the ones that are kind of unrealistic expectations? What are those problems that are just what happens in the course of doing business? And the ones that we could really tackle, we took them head on. And that was a big part of our speaking points last year, our communication to the fans, is that we listened and hear the changes and pretty much made a guarantee that they were going to have a better overall experience last year than what they may have had the first year. We saw a great return on that. We have a great return coming this year. And the other part about this, too, is the quality of the racing. This new car on this track and the effort of the show that goes into this. This year, we have fans coming from 45 states, 12 countries, and for this track in the middle of the season, middle of the country, to be drawing an international crowd is simply unbelievable. We're very pleased with that. And our goal is, I tell all of our staff when we're having our pre-event planning meetings, we're only as good as our next race. So so I tell them, don't get too comfortable with what we did. Let's look at what we can do to be better. One of the lines that I always start with is every event that we have is a chance to be better than we were the event before. And we always want to be trying to strive and never go backwards and never get complacent, just always keep plugging away and trying to be better.
Chris, I love that. That's a great attitude to have, and I'm sure it trickles down because of what we've seen. But here's my advice to the race fan, right? Come early to the racetrack, come in the main gate, look to the right, and you can enjoy Kenny Wallace live.
With John Roberts.
With John Roberts, yeah, of course.
Yeah, that's one of those things. And, all this was starting. I knew the key to this event was making sure we put a lot of effort into getting people in early, much like back in the old days with Humpy Wheeler, when he would do the big stunts there at Charlotte, whether it's somebody jumping over Porta Johns or whatever the case may be. Get that early, that's the key. And even back in my days when I was doing Monster Jam and Supercross for Charlie Mancuso at Pace Motorsports, we put a big emphasis on the pit party because we wanted to get everybody there, get them in the gates, and that way we didn't have to worry about that last minute rush. And that was one of the things that we focused on here. And I saw that as an opportunity with Kenny, who lives just 30 miles from the racetrack. He's a great ambassador for everything that we do. Let's bring the show back. And that's when Kenny said, well, if we're going to do the show, we're going to bring John in to do this with us. And I told him, I said, I don't want this to be just a boring show. I said, I want this to be something like David Letterman's Stupid Pet Tricks. I want to go above and beyond, see what we can do. Let's not make it like anything else that anybody else is doing. And so that's been one of our focuses. So get there early for Kenny Wallace. Then we lead into the Confluence Music Festival. So we have, national acts such as Adam Wainwright. He's going to be on the same stage you guys are on. As soon as the Kenny Wallace Live with John Roberts ends, we're introducing Adam Wainwright. He's going to start performing.
Awesome.
He's now a country music performer. Then we've got the concerts going on in the infield with Big and Rich and Gretchen Wilson and T-Pain that will all be taking place. It's something for everybody, plus all the other activities we have going on. We don't want people just to show up, go sit in their seats, watch a race, and leave. We want them to come in and take in a full experience so they get the most bang for their buck. And all the stuff that we do is included with your ticket price. So we want to get them in here early to take it all in and make this one of those days that they will long remember. Because, anymore, if you go to a hockey game or you go to a baseball game, you're looking at your watch and you're trying to get in there so you're not wasting a lot of time before the event starts. And, every game is just like the other game in most cases. What we're trying to do is make it those opportunities where you don't want to miss it. You want to be there from start to finish on the race. And then even after with post-event concerts, we want to make sure that everybody's filling up their day. And that was one of the things we wanted to do just to distinguish us from everyone else. And that's something we did with IndyCar starting in 2017. We got a lot of accolades for that. And it's something we just continue to try to grow on and improve on, to just keep being better.
Chris, it's been an honor and a privilege for me to be at the first two. I cannot wait for number 3. We'll make it better than ever. And I'll see you in a couple days, brother.
I'm looking forward to it, man. It's hard to believe that it's already here. It seems like it was just yesterday. We were smashing watermelons on the stage down there, but it's coming up quick. Forecast is looking pretty solid. I think we're going to have a great weekend. Temperatures look really good. So this is going to be another one that we hope that we can be one of those events that when people see it on TV, they say, next year I want to be there. That's our number one goal. So we're going to do everything we can to make that happen.
Chris, thanks for your time, man. I know you're busy. Thanks for joining us. And again, see you very shortly.
All right, John. Thank you so much.
Hey, thanks, Chris. Appreciate it, brother.
Thanks, John.
All right, folks, this week and every week, we're going to close out Lights Out with Johnny Roberts with a quote from one of my favorite and one of the coolest guys ever to drive a race car. This segment is called Ward Burton Said It. And once Ward Burton looked at us and said, "There ain't an engineer in the world could build a dam like a beaver." That's what Ward Burton said, and thanks for joining us for this edition of Lights Out. We'll be back with another one next week.